Hollis gripped the porcelain mug, his fingers tracing the rim as he stared at the dark liquid within. The aroma of fresh coffee wafted through his modern kitchen, a scent that had become synonymous with his carefully structured mornings. At 38, he had built his life on precision and control, traits that made him one of the city's most sought-after architects. His reflection in the stainless steel refrigerator caught his attention. Dark circles under his eyes, skin paler than usual. The fatigue had been creeping in for months now, along with waves of nausea that seemed to intensify with each passing week. He took a sip of coffee, grimacing at the slight metallic aftertaste that lingered on his tongue. "You should see Dr. Clayton again," Lila said, her voice carrying a note of concern as she entered the kitchen. She wore her designer workout gear, her dark hair pulled back in a perfect ponytail. "You're looking worse, darling." Cal observed his wife's movements as she prepared her morning smoothie. At 32, Delilah Monroe Hollis commanded attention wherever she went. Her presence filled rooms, turned heads, and right now, she was watching him with what appeared to be genuine worry in her green eyes. "I saw Benny last week," Cal replied, setting down his mug. "He adjusted my prescription again. Says it's just stress from the Richardson project." Lila approached him, running her manicured fingers through his dark hair. "Maybe you should take a break. The firm can handle things without you for a few days." The touch of her hand triggered a memory, his parents' funeral 25 years ago. 10-year-old Cal standing beside their graves, understanding for the first time that safety was an illusion. The construction accident that claimed their lives had taught him control was the only shield against chaos. "I'm fine," he said, moving away from her touch. The new medication should kick in soon. His phone buzzed. A message from Rex Hamilton, his personal trainer. "Session at 6 p.m. today? Need to work on those core muscles, boss." Cal typed a quick response. "Not today. Still feeling under the weather. I can stop by the gym and cancel for you," Lila offered. A little too quickly. "I'm heading there anyway for my morning session with Rex." Cal noted the slight flush in her cheeks, the way she avoided his direct gaze. "That's thoughtful of you," he said, his tone neutral. The day proceeded as usual. Cal buried himself in blueprints and client meetings, ignoring the persistent nausea and dizziness. His firm, Hollis Architecture, had grown from a small startup to a major player in urban development. Today's focus was a revolutionary sustainable housing project that would reshape the city's skyline. At 8:47 p.m., his phone rang. The caller ID displayed Father Bellwether. "Mr. Hollis," the priest's voice trembled slightly. "I need to speak with you. It's urgent. Can you come to St. Michael's right away?" Cal detected the strain in the older man's tone. "Is everything all right, Father? Please, just come. Some matters. They can only be discussed in person." 20 minutes later, Cal pulled up to St. Michael's Church. The Gothic structure loomed against the night sky, its stained glass windows dark except for a single light in the vestibule. Father Bellwether waited at the entrance, his weathered face drawn with tension. "Thank you for coming," the priest said, leading Cal through the empty church. The smell of incense hung heavy in the air. "What I'm about to do, it goes against everything I believe in, but I cannot remain silent. Not when a life is at stake." They entered the priest's office, a small room lined with religious texts and family photographs. Father Bellwether closed the door and sank into his chair, his hands trembling as he reached for an envelope on his desk. "Your grandmother was a dear friend," he began. "She asked me to watch over you before she passed. I've failed her by waiting this long to speak." "What are you talking about?" Cal asked, his architect's mind already analyzing the priest's nervous behavior, cataloging every detail. Father Bellwether pushed the envelope across the desk. "Yesterday, your wife came to confession. What she revealed." He paused, crossing himself. "The seal of confession is sacred, but there are times when the sin is so grave that silence becomes complicity." Cal opened the envelope with steady hands. Inside was a handwritten letter, Lila's distinctive script flowing across the page. As he read, his expression remained unchanged, but his grip on the paper tightened. "She's been poisoning me," he stated, his voice devoid of emotion. The priest nodded miserably. "Arsenic in your coffee. Small doses, building up over months. Dr. Clayton has been helping her, prescribing placebos, monitoring the poisoning's progress. They're planning to finish it at Christmas, make it look like an accident. He pulled out more papers, receipts for poison purchases, bank statements showing transfers to an offshore account in Dr. Clayton's name. There's more, Father Bellwether continued. She's been having an affair with your trainer, Rex Hamilton. They're planning to marry after your death. The insurance policy? When did she take out the policy? Cal interrupted. 3 months ago. $5 million, double payout for accidental death. Cal studied the documents, his mind already forming connections, plotting angles like the complex structures he designed. Thank you, Father. You've done the right thing. What will you do? What's necessary? Cal stood, tucking the envelope into his jacket. This conversation never happened. You haven't broken any sacred trusts today. The priest watched him leave, crossing himself again. In Cal's measured steps and rigid posture, he recognized something that chilled him more than Lila's confession. The calm calculation of a man preparing for war. In his car, Cal reviewed the evidence again. The architect in him appreciated the elegant simplicity of their plan. The husband in him felt nothing but cold fury. He started the engine, his mind already drafting blueprints for a different kind of design, one that would bring his would-be murderer's world crashing down around them. Chapter 2. The Gathering Storm. The following morning, Cal sat in his home office, spreading out the contents of Father Bellwether's envelope across his mahogany desk. Each piece of evidence was a component in the structure of betrayal. Bank statements, poison receipts, love notes between Lila and Rex exchanged through a secret email account. He arranged them with the same precision he used when laying out architectural plans. A knock at the door interrupted his analysis. "Come in," he called, quickly gathering the documents. Lila entered, wearing a silk robe, her hair slightly mussed from sleep. "You were gone when I woke up," she said, moving behind his chair to massage his shoulders. "Another early meeting?" "Had to check on the Richardson site," he lied smoothly, noting how her fingers paused briefly at his response. "The foundation work starts today." "You work too hard," she murmured, her lips brushing his ear. "I worry about you, especially with how sick you've been lately." Cal turned to face her, studying the concern in her expression. 3 years of marriage, and he'd never noticed how well she wore her masks. "I got you something," he said, reaching into his desk drawer. He pulled out a small box from Cartier. Lila's eyes lit up as she opened it, revealing a diamond tennis bracelet. "Cal, it's beautiful. But what's the occasion? Do I need one?" He fastened the bracelet around her wrist, remembering Father Bellwether's words about the Christmas plan. "I thought you could wear it to the cabin this winter." Her hand trembled slightly. "The cabin? For Christmas? You mentioned wanting to get away, just the two of us." "Yes, of course," she recovered quickly, kissing his cheek. "It's perfect. I have to run. Meeting my trainer." Cal watched her leave, then picked up his phone. "Leo? I need your services. It's a delicate matter." An hour later, Cal sat across from Leo Martinez in a quiet corner of a downtown cafe. The former police officer's weathered face remained impassive as Cal laid out the situation. "You want me to dig into all 3 of them?" Leo asked, making notes in his small notebook. "Everything. Financial records, communications, movements. I want to know every skeleton in their closets." Cal passed him a thick envelope. "This should cover the initial investigation. What about your wife's family? The Monroes? Include them. I need to understand what shaped her." Over the next few days, Cal maintained his routine while gathering intelligence. He installed hidden cameras throughout their house, placed a tracker on Lila's car, and added spyware to her devices. Each evening, he reviewed the footage, building a comprehensive picture of her betrayal. The gym footage was particularly revealing. Rex Hamilton carried himself with the arrogance of a man who thought he'd won life's lottery. Cal observed their interactions during Lila's training sessions, the lingering touches, the private jokes, the way they gravitated toward each other when they thought no one was watching. Leo's initial reports filled in more gaps. Lila's childhood in a middle-class family had been marked by her mother's constant social climbing and her father's gambling debts. She'd reinvented herself in college, using her beauty and charm to move in wealthy circles. Rex, despite his confident exterior, was drowning in debt from failed business ventures and gambling, much like Lila's father. Dr. Bennett Clayton's history proved most interesting. 2 malpractice suits settled out of court, a suspension for prescribing controlled substances without proper documentation, and a lifestyle well beyond a physician's typical means. Your wife approached Clayton 3 months before the poisoning began, Leo reported during their next meeting. She knew about his financial troubles and offered him a way out. The offshore account receives regular payments from a shell company registered in her maiden name. Cal nodded, adding this information to his mental blueprint. And the insurance policy? Taken out through a broker who's handled similar policies, all ending in suspicious deaths. The broker's connected to Clayton through a golf club membership. They meet twice a month, always in private rooms. A text message interrupted their discussion. It was from his sister, Isabel. Haven't heard from you in weeks. Coming by the bakery today? Cal stared at the message, feeling a pang of guilt. Izzy had always been his strongest supporter, especially after their parents' death. But he couldn't risk involving her, not yet. I need more time, he texted back. Big project deadline. You okay? You seemed off at Sunday dinner. Just tired. Talk soon. At home that evening, Cal reviewed the day's surveillance footage. Lila had spent 3 hours at the gym, though only 45 minutes involved actual training. The rest was spent in Rex's office, the camera catching their passionate encounters. In the kitchen footage, he watched her prepare his evening coffee, adding a clear liquid from a small vial she kept in a hidden compartment of her jewelry box. The front door opened, announcing Lila's return. Cal quickly switched off the monitors and opened a set of blueprints. Still working? She asked, entering his office. She wore her workout clothes, her skin glowing from exertion. I brought you coffee from that place you like. Cal accepted the cup, pretending to take a sip. Thanks. How was your workout? Intense. Rex is pushing me hard. She perched on his desk, her leg brushing against his arm. Dr. Clayton called. He wants to adjust your medication again. I'll see him tomorrow, Cal replied, noticing how she leaned forward, giving him a view of her cleavage. Her seduction techniques were flawless, he had to admit. Want to have dinner out tonight? That new French place you mentioned? I'd love to, but I promised Mother I'd help with her charity event planning. She kissed him lightly. Rain check? After she left, Cal poured the coffee into a sample container for testing. His phone buzzed with another report from Leo. The charity event didn't exist. Lila had booked a hotel room under her maiden name. Cal leaned back in his chair, his mind churning with possibilities. They thought they were the architects of his destruction, but they'd built their plans on a false foundation. He would let them continue, watching as they added each new floor to their house of lies. Soon, they would learn what happened when you betrayed an architect who'd learned early that the most dangerous designs were the ones that looked perfectly safe until the moment they collapsed. Chapter 3. The Trap is Set. The late afternoon sun streaked through the windows of Cal's downtown office as he refined his plans. On his computer screen, blueprints for the Christmas cabin trip slowly took shape. Not the cozy romantic getaway Lila envisioned, but something far more calculated. His intercom buzzed. Mr. Hollis, your sister is here to see you. Cal glanced at the security feed, seeing Izzy waiting in reception, a box from her bakery in her hands. He quickly closed the cabin plans. Send her in. Isabel Ramirez entered with the whirlwind energy that characterized her movements. At 32, she shared Cal's dark hair and sharp features, but where his expression remained controlled, hers danced with emotion. You're avoiding me, she declared, setting the box on his desk. So I brought your favorite chocolate croissants, and I'm not leaving until you tell me what's wrong. Nothing's wrong, Cal replied, but Izzy's raised eyebrow showed she wasn't buying it. Cut the crap, Hermano. You've lost weight, you look exhausted, and Lila's been acting stranger than usual. She leaned forward, lowering her voice. Is it about the trainer? Cal's attention sharpened. What about him? I saw them last week at Cafe Luna, way too close for a trainer and client. I wanted to tell you, but... She trailed off, studying his face. You already knew. Sit down, Iz. Cal walked to his office door, closing it firmly. What I'm about to tell you stays between us. I need your eyes and ears, but you can't let anyone know you're watching. For the next hour, Cal shared a carefully edited version of the truth, enough to explain his behavior without revealing the full scope of Lila's betrayal. He couldn't risk Izzy's protective instincts leading her to confront Lila directly. That puta. Izzy spat when he finished. Want me to poison her coffee? I've got some interesting ingredients in my kitchen. Despite everything, Cal felt a smile tugging at his lips. No poisoning. I need you to be my eyes in places I can't watch. Society events, charity functions, anywhere Lila might let her guard down. You're planning something. It wasn't a question. Something big. The less you know, the better. Just trust me. Izzy studied him for a long moment. Just promise me one thing. Make her suffer. After Izzy left, Cal returned to his planning. The pieces were falling into place. Leo's investigations had revealed that Rex's gym was hemorrhaging money, and Dr. Clayton had recently inquired about properties in non-extradition countries. They were getting nervous, which meant they might rush their timeline. His phone chimed with a text from Lila. Dinner at home tonight? I'll cook your favorite. Looking forward to it, he responded, then opened his email to send a message to his private investigator. Leo, need eyes on Clayton's office tomorrow morning. Wife making unexpected dinner plans. They might be moving up the schedule. Cal. That evening, Cal arrived home to find Lila in the kitchen, preparing his favorite pasta dish. She wore a new dress that highlighted her curves, her hair styled exactly the way he preferred. You're home early, she said, greeting him with a kiss. Feeling better? Much better. Cal accepted the glass of wine she offered, watching as she returned to the stove. Actually, I've been thinking about our Christmas plans. Lila's hand paused briefly as she stirred the sauce. Oh, why wait? We both need a break. I was thinking we could go next week instead. Next week? She turned to face him, her composure slipping slightly. But your projects can wait. I've already cleared my schedule, Cal said, taking a sip of wine. I found a beautiful spot, very private. I think you'll love it. Lila's fingers tightened around the wooden spoon. That's wonderful, darling. But Rex, my training schedule is quite full next week. I'm sure your trainer can manage without you for a few days. Cal moved behind her, placing his hands on her shoulders. He felt her slight flinch at his touch. Unless there's another reason you don't want to go? No, of course not. Lila recovered quickly, leaning back against him. You just surprised me. It sounds perfect. Over dinner, Cal watched Lila text under the table, no doubt alerting her conspirators to the change in plans. He'd anticipated this, already having Leo monitoring their communications. Later that night, after Lila had gone to bed, Cal sat in his office reviewing the latest surveillance footage. Dr. Clayton had called Lila immediately after receiving her text, their conversation revealing their panic. He's suspicious, Clayton's voice crackled through the recording. The timing is too convenient. Don't be paranoid, Lila snapped. He's clueless. This actually works better for us. We won't have to wait until Christmas. And Hammer? Is he ready? Rex will do what I tell him to do. Just make sure the new prescription is ready. I'll need something stronger than arsenic if we're moving up the timeline. Cal replayed the conversation, noting every detail. His phone buzzed with a message from Leo. Clayton visited a known dealer tonight. Paid cash for an untraceable substance. Want me to intercept? No, Cal typed back. Let them proceed. Just document everything. He opened his laptop, pulling up the blueprints for the location he'd selected. The old industrial property sat isolated on the outskirts of town, its abandoned buildings perfect for his purposes. He'd spent weeks modifying the space, installing surveillance equipment, and creating a controlled environment where he could expose their treachery. His phone buzzed again. This time it was Rex. Hey boss, heard about the trip? Sure you're up for it? You've been pretty sick lately. The false concern in the message made Cal's jaw tighten. He responded with calculated friendliness. Looking forward to it. Why don't you join us? Could use some training tips for when I'm feeling better. Rex's reply came quickly. Really? That'd be great. Thanks, man. Cal smiled coldly at the phone. They thought they were manipulating him, never suspecting they were walking into a trap of his own design. He pulled out Father Bellwether's envelope, reviewing the evidence one final time. The priest's warning had given him the advantage, allowing him to turn their own plot against them. The next morning, Cal met with his lawyer under the guise of reviewing contracts for the Richardson project. Instead, he spent 2 hours preparing legal documents that would ensure his sister's financial security and protect his assets, regardless of what happened next week. "Everything all right, Cal?" his lawyer asked, noticing his client's unusual attention to mortality clauses. "Just being thorough," Cal replied, signing the last document. "When you build something, you need to ensure the foundation is solid." He spent the rest of the day finalizing his preparations. Each detail was meticulously planned, each contingency accounted for. The property had been purchased through a shell corporation, the surveillance equipment installed by contractors who didn't ask questions. He'd created a digital dossier of their crimes, set to be automatically sent to the police if anything went wrong. That evening, as he watched Lila prepare his coffee with its deadly additives, Cal felt a cold satisfaction. They'd chosen him as their victim, seeing only the controlled exterior, the successful architect whose death would fund their new life. They never wondered why a man who'd lost his parents to a tragic accident might be obsessed with control, might understand better than most how to engineer a devastating collapse. The first act of their drama was ending, but they didn't know their roles had changed. They thought they were the architects of his destruction, never realizing they were merely components in his blueprint for revenge. Chapter 4. The Web Titans. Cal sat behind his desk, reviewing the surveillance feeds from his home. The morning light illuminated his office as he watched Lila prepare her breakfast smoothie, unaware that her world was about to shift dramatically. He picked up his phone and dialed her number. "Darling," he said, his voice carrying a warmth that didn't reach his core. "I've been thinking about our Christmas plans." "Oh." Lila's voice held a note of curiosity. "Why wait? I've cleared my schedule for next week. I found this amazing place, somewhere different from our usual spots. More private." The silence on the other end lasted 3 seconds too long. "Next week? But what about your projects? The Richardson development." "Can wait," Cal interrupted smoothly. "You've been right all along. I need a break, and who better to spend it with than my wife?" He paused, then added, "I thought we could invite Rex along too. He's been helpful with my recovery program." Through the feed, he watched Lila's hand freeze on her glass. "Rex? Are you sure that's appropriate?" "Why not? He's been instrumental in keeping me healthy despite my condition. Besides, he mentioned wanting to expand his client base. This could be good networking for him." "That's thoughtful of you," Lila managed. "Let me check my schedule and get back to you." After hanging up, Cal turned to his computer and pulled up the property details he'd purchased through a shell corporation. The abandoned industrial site sat isolated on 50 acres of land, its main structure a converted barn that he'd spent weeks modifying. He clicked through the security camera feeds he'd installed throughout the property, checking each angle and blind spot. His phone buzzed with a text from Leo. "Dr. Clayton just made 3 calls in succession, wife, trainer, and an unlisted number. Want me to trace it?" "Follow the unlisted number. Record everything." Cal switched to another screen, watching the real-time feed from Dr. Clayton's office. The doctor paced his private room, phone pressed to his ear. "This is moving too fast." Clayton's voice came through clearly. "We haven't tested the new compound. If the dosage is wrong, then fix it." Lila's voice cut in. "You're supposed to be the expert." Cal's never been this suspicious before. "We need to act now." "And your boy toy? Is he ready?" "Rex will do what I tell him. Just make sure you have everything prepared by next week." Cal's lips curved into a cold smile. He opened his desk drawer and removed a thick file, architectural plans for the barn's modifications. Each room had been designed with a specific purpose, each space calculated to serve his revenge. A knock at his office door interrupted his review. "Come in." Izzy entered, her face tight with concern. "I got your message. What's this about Lila and the trip?" "Close the door." Once Izzy was seated, Cal outlined the next phase of his plan. Her eyes widened as he explained the modified property, the surveillance systems, the carefully orchestrated trap he'd designed. "Dios mío," she whispered. "You're not just exposing them. You're going to destroy them." "They tried to murder me," Cal stated, his voice devoid of emotion. slowly, painfully, while pretending to care. Now they'll understand what that feels like. What do you need from me? Keep watching Lila's social circle. I need to know if she tries to set up any contingency plans. And Izzy? He fixed her with a stern look. Stay away from the property next week. What happens there isn't something you need to witness. Later that afternoon, Cal visited the industrial site, inspecting the modifications. The barn's interior had been transformed into a maze of rooms and corridors, each space equipped with speakers and projectors. The main room, where he'd staged the final confrontation, featured walls of screens that would display their betrayal in high definition. His phone buzzed with a message from Rex. "Hey man, Lila mentioned the trip. Sounds great. Need any specific equipment?" Cal typed back, "Just bring yourself. I've got everything else covered." That evening, he reviewed the latest footage from his home cameras. Lila was in their bedroom, packing her designer luggage while on the phone with Rex. "It's perfect," she was saying. "The idiot's practically gift-wrapping our opportunity. No waiting until Christmas. No elaborate plans needed. We do it next week and we're free." "What about the insurance?" Rex asked. "Won't they be suspicious if it's not during the holidays like we planned? Accidents can happen anytime, baby. That's why they're called accidents." Cal switched to another feed, watching Dr. Clayton in his office as he prepared a set of syringes. The doctor's hands trembled slightly as he measured the clear liquid. "Got the lab results." Leo's message appeared on Cal's phone. "That unlisted number belongs to a black market dealer specializing in untraceable toxins. Clayton withdrew $50,000 in cash yesterday." Cal leaned back in his chair, satisfaction coursing through him. They were all moving exactly as he'd predicted, following the path he'd laid out like rats in a maze. Soon they would discover that the maze had only one exit, and he controlled it. Chapter 5. The noose closes. The morning of the trip arrived with a sense of anticipation. Cal loaded the last of their luggage into his SUV, watching as Lila emerged from their house wearing a designer travel outfit that cost more than most people's monthly salary. Rex pulled up in his sports car, all confident smiles and expensive cologne. "Thanks for including me, man," Rex said, clapping Cal on the shoulder. "Been wanting to show you some new techniques." "I'm sure you have," Cal replied, noting how Rex's hand lingered on Lila's waist as he helped her into the car. The drive took 3 hours, each mile taking them further from civilization. Cal observed his passengers through the rearview mirror, catching their subtle glances and hidden touches. They grew more nervous as the landscape became increasingly remote. "Are you sure this is the right way?" Lila asked, her perfectly manicured nails tapping against her phone screen. "There's no signal out here." "That's the point," Cal said. "Complete privacy. No distractions." They turned onto a gravel road that led to the converted barn. The structure rose before them, its weathered exterior masking the sophisticated technology hidden within. Cal parked and led them inside, watching their reactions. "It's rustic," Lila managed, her disdain evident. "Just wait," Cal assured her. "I've made some improvements." He showed them to their rooms, separate ones, of course. The moment they were settled, he retreated to his control room, hidden behind the barn's old office. Multiple screens displayed feeds from throughout the building. Lila and Rex didn't waste time. Within 20 minutes, they met in the main room, speaking in hushed voices. "This place gives me the creeps," Rex muttered. "Why couldn't we stick to the original plan?" "Because this is better," Lila snapped. "No witnesses, no questions." Clayton said the new compound will look like a heart attack. Quick and clean. Cal's fingers moved across the control panel. The room's lights dimmed slightly, and a barely audible hum filled the air. On the screens, he watched Rex shift uncomfortably. "Did you hear that?" Rex asked. "You're being paranoid." But Lila's voice held a note of uncertainty. Cal pressed another button. Through hidden speakers, their own voices began to play. Recordings from months of surveillance. "God, he's so pathetic." Lila's voice echoed through the room. "Just drink your coffee, darling." "Doctor's orders." Rex's laughter followed. "The great architect can't even tell his wife's poisoning him. Some genius." The color drained from their faces as their conversations continued to play. Cal switched to the projectors, and suddenly the barn's walls came alive with images. Lila adding poison to his coffee, their intimate moments in Rex's office, Dr. Clayton accepting envelopes of cash. What the hell? Rex spun around, trying to track the source of the images. How? You really should be more careful about where you conduct your affairs. Cal's voice came through the speakers, calm and cold. Modern security cameras are remarkably sophisticated. Lila's composure cracked. Cal? What is this? This is your performance review. More images appeared. Bank statements, insurance policies, medical reports. I must say, your attention to detail was impressive. Shame about Father Bellwether's crisis of conscience. The priest, Lila whispered. He told you. He saved my life. Unlike my loving wife, he actually has a conscience. Cal's voice hardened. Did you really think I wouldn't figure it out? That I would just lie down and die for your convenience? Rex made a dash for the door, but it was already locked. Let us out. Why? We're just getting to the good part. Cal switched to the next set of recordings, their detailed planning of his murder, complete with timestamps and dates. I especially enjoyed your creative ideas for my accident. Very imaginative. Through the cameras, he watched them try every door, becoming increasingly frantic as they realized they were trapped. Lila's perfect makeup began to smear as she searched for an escape route. Cal, please, she called out. We can explain. Explain the arsenic in my coffee? The fake prescriptions? Or perhaps you'd like to explain the offshore account you set up with my money. Each question was accompanied by corresponding evidence projected onto the walls. Don't waste your breath, Lila. I have everything. Dr. Clayton was quite helpful once Leo started investigating his finances. Rex's face contorted with rage. He grabbed a chair, hurling it at one of the projectors. You think you can trap us here? I'll tear this place apart. Feel free to try. But first, Cal pressed another button, and new images appeared. Rex's gambling debts, his failed business ventures, his other affairs. Let's discuss your own betrayals, shall we? Lila might be interested in knowing about your side arrangement with Dr. Clayton. Lila turned to Rex, her eyes narrowing. What's he talking about? Oh. Cal's voice dripped with false surprise. He didn't tell you about his plan to claim the insurance money for himself? Apparently, you weren't the only one plotting a convenient accident. Chapter 6. The Fall Begins. The barn's main room had become an arena of accusations and revealed truths. Cal watched through his monitors as Lila and Rex turned on each other, their alliance crumbling under the weight of exposed betrayals. You were going to kill me too? Lila's voice shook with fury. After everything I promised you? Rex backed away from her, his muscled frame tense with defensive anger. Like you're any better. You've been playing everyone from the start. Clayton told me about your other plans, the ones you didn't share with me. Clayton? Lila spat. That greedy fool would say anything for money. You believed him over me? Cal's voice cut through their argument. Speaking of Clayton, new images appeared on the walls, security footage from the doctor's office showing private meetings with both Lila and Rex, separate conversations about separate plans. He's been quite busy lately. Shall we review his statement to Detective Jones? Detective? Rex's face went pale. What detective? Marissa Jones, Homicide Division. She's particularly interested in Dr. Clayton's history of suspicious patient deaths. Apparently, you're not the first couple to approach him with murder in mind. Lila's legs gave out, and she sank onto a wooden bench. Her designer outfit was wrinkled, her careful mask of sophistication shattered. You can't prove anything. It's all circumstantial. Really? Cal switched to a new recording, this one from their bedroom. Lila's voice came through clearly. Just a few more weeks of the arsenic, then we switched to the untraceable compound Clayton found. Cal's so-called accident will pay for everything we've ever wanted. Rex lunged for the nearest speaker. Turn it off. Why? Isn't this what you wanted? An audience for your perfect crime? Cal's tone remained eerily calm. But let's not forget your starring role, Rex. Your performance as the concerned trainer was quite convincing. Tell me, did you enjoy watching me grow weaker each week, knowing you were sleeping with my wife? I'll kill you. Rex slammed his fists against the walls, searching for a way into Cal's control room. Like you planned to kill me at Christmas? Or perhaps like you planned to kill Lila once you had access to the insurance money. More documents appeared. Rex's secret correspondence with Clayton, his own offshore account arrangements. You see, the problem with conspiracies is that everyone talks eventually. Clayton was particularly chatty once we showed him proof of his medical fraud. Lila turned on Rex, her manicured nails curled into claws. You lying bastard. I trusted you. Trust? Cal's laugh held no humor. Let's talk about trust, Lila. Let's talk about wedding vows and promises of loyalty. Let's talk about how you smiled at me each morning while poisoning my coffee. The barn's lights shifted, creating a harsh spotlight effect. More evidence appeared, detailed toxicology reports, bank transfers, phone records. Each piece of proof was accompanied by dates and timestamps, forming an irrefutable timeline of their betrayal. The police are already moving on Clayton, Cal informed them. He's being arrested as we speak. Detective Jones is particularly interested in his client list. It seems you two weren't his only customers seeking convenient accidents. Rex made another attempt at escape, throwing his body against the locked door. You can't do this. We have rights. Rights? Cal's voice turned sharp. Like my right to live? My right to trust my wife? My right to believe my doctor was actually treating me? He paused, letting his words sink in. But you're correct about one thing. You do have rights. You have the right to remain silent. Detective Jones will be here soon to explain the rest. Lila stumbled to her feet, her face a mask of desperation. Cal, please. We can work this out. I'll tell them everything was Rex's idea. He manipulated me. Save your performance for the jury. Cal cut her off. Although they might find the video evidence more convincing than your tears, through his monitors, Cal watched their final attempts to escape, to bargain, to threaten. Each outburst was recorded, each confession captured for the prosecution. He had designed this trap not just to expose their crimes, but to break their spirits, to make them face the full weight of their betrayal. The sound of approaching sirens cut through the air. On his screens, Cal saw police vehicles approaching the property, Detective Jones's car in the lead. He pressed a final button, and all the exits except the main door unlocked. That would be your escort arriving, he announced. I suggest you use these last few moments to decide how much prison time you're willing to serve for each other. From what I understand, attempted murder carries quite a sentence. Chapter 7. The Reckoning. The converted barn stood silent in the aftermath of Cal's revenge. He moved through the space, disconnecting surveillance equipment and wiping down surfaces. No celebrations, no gloating, just the same precise attention to detail that had characterized his trap's construction. Detective Marissa Jones leaned against her car, watching him work. You've thought of something else? 3 cameras in the southeast corner, Cal replied, handing her a hard drive. More footage for your case file. You do realize they'll try to use this against you? She gestured at the elaborate setup. The defense will say this proves premeditation, that you lured them here. Cal continued his work, unfazed. They were planning to murder me at Christmas. I simply provided an alternate venue for their plot to unfold. Everything here is documented, legal, and witnessed by law enforcement. Smart. Jones examined the surveillance equipment. But Lila's family has money. They'll hire the best defense attorneys. Let them. Cal's voice held no concern. The evidence speaks for itself. 2 weeks later, Cal sat in his lawyer's office, reviewing the charges against Lila, Rex, and Dr. Clayton. Attempted murder, conspiracy, medical malpractice, fraud. The list filled several pages. They're offering a plea deal, his lawyer said, sliding a document across the desk. Clayton's willing to testify against the others in exchange for leniency. Cal read the terms, his expression unchanging. No deals. I want them all to face a jury. It'll be a media circus. Your private life, your past. Everything will be exposed. Good. Cal set down the paper. Let them try to justify attempting to poison me in my own home. Let them explain the life insurance policy, the offshore accounts, the fraudulent prescriptions. I have nothing to hide. The first preliminary hearing proved Cal right. Lila appeared in designer prison garb, her mask of sophistication cracking as the prosecution presented their evidence. Her lawyer attempted to paint her as a victim of manipulation by Rex and Clayton. My client was coerced, the defense attorney argued. Mr. Hamilton and Dr. Clayton took advantage of her vulnerable state, her husband's emotional distance. Objection, Your Honor. The prosecutor interrupted. The evidence clearly shows Mrs. Hollis was the primary architect of this conspiracy. Judge Davies, a stern man with graying temples, reviewed the surveillance footage. Objection sustained. The defendant's own recorded statements indicate she initiated the murder plot. From his seat in the gallery, Cal watched Lila's composure crumble as her own words played through the courtroom speakers. Just a few more weeks. Cal's accident will pay for everything we've ever wanted. During a recess, Izzy gripped his arm. The Monroe family hired private investigators. They're digging into your past, trying to find anything they can use against you. Let them dig. Cal's voice remained steady. They won't find what they're looking for. What's that? A justification for attempted murder. The media descended on the courthouse like vultures. Headlines screamed about betrayal, poison, and revenge. Reporters ambushed Cal outside his office, shoving microphones in his face. Mr. Hollis, how does it feel to be betrayed by your wife? Did you suspect the affair before the priest's warning? Was this elaborate trap necessary, or were you seeking revenge? Cal moved through them without comment, his silence only fueling their speculation. Inside his office, he continued working on his latest architectural project, refusing to let the trial disrupt his life. Leo visited regularly, keeping him updated on the opposition's moves. Clayton's cracking. He spent 3 hours with the DA yesterday. Word is he's ready to detail exactly how they plan to make your death look accidental. And Rex? Still trying to blame everything on Lila. Claims she manipulated him with promises of wealth and status. Leo shook his head. The jury's not buying it, especially after seeing the footage of him laughing about your deteriorating health. The preliminary hearings stretched into full trial preparations. Cal's lawyer presented him with possible settlement offers from all 3 defendants. They're scared, the lawyer explained. The evidence is overwhelming. They want to avoid a public trial. Cal examined each offer before shredding them. No settlements. No deals. They wanted to kill me slowly, watching me suffer while pretending to care. Now they can experience the same slow destruction of their lives. The prosecution agrees with you, his lawyer admitted. They're calling it one of the most calculated attempted murders they've seen. The fact that your own doctor was involved makes it perfect for setting legal precedent. Cal stood, straightening his tie. Let's give them a trial they'll never forget. Chapter 8. The Scales of Justice. The main courtroom buzzed with tension as the trial began. Judge Davies presided with stern authority, his reputation for fairness making him the perfect arbiter for such a high-profile case. Father Bellwether took the stand first, his aged hands trembling as he recounted Lila's confession. She spoke of it so casually, the priest testified, as if planning her husband's death was no more significant than planning a dinner party. When I asked about her vows before God, she laughed. Lila's attorney attempted to discredit him. Isn't it convenient that you chose to break the seal of confession? Some might say you violated the most sacred trust of your position. I violated no trust, Father Bellwether responded firmly. The seal of confession does not protect future crimes. Mrs. Hollis wasn't seeking absolution. She was bragging about a murder she hadn't yet committed. Detective Jones testified next, presenting the mountain of evidence Cal had accumulated. Each piece told part of the story. Bank records showing money transfers, surveillance footage of poison purchases, recorded conversations plotting his death. In my 15 years of homicide investigation, Jones stated, I've never seen a more thoroughly documented conspiracy to commit murder. During cross-examination, Rex's attorney tried a different approach. Detective, isn't it possible Mr. Hollis orchestrated this entire situation? Created evidence to frame these 3 innocent people? Objection, Your Honor. The prosecutor called. Speculation. Sustained. Judge Davies ruled. The defense will restrict questions to actual evidence. The trial's turning point came when Dr. Clayton took the stand. Unable to maintain his professional facade under questioning, he revealed the full scope of their plan. Mrs. Hollis approached me first, Clayton testified, unable to meet Cal's steady gaze. She knew about my financial troubles, offered to pay triple my normal fees if I'd help stage her husband's accident. And you agreed? The prosecutor pressed. She was very persuasive. Said Mr. Hollis deserved it for being emotionally cold, for caring more about his work than her needs. Clayton wiped sweat from his brow. Then Hamilton got involved, wanted his share. It spiraled from there. During a court recess, Izzy found Cal in the courthouse corridor. You okay, Hermano? Hearing all this can't be easy. I'm fine. Cal's voice held no emotion. They're doing exactly what I expected. Trying to justify attempted murder by painting themselves as victims. The jury sees through it, Izzy assured him. The way Lila keeps changing her story. How Rex tries to blame everyone else. Their conversation was interrupted by the approach of Lila's mother, Patricia Monroe. The society matron's expensive suit couldn't hide her desperate anger. You're destroying my daughter's life, she hissed at Cal, all because you couldn't give her the attention she deserved. Cal regarded her coldly. Your daughter tried to poison me. The only thing I'm destroying is her plan to get away with murder. She's young. She made a mistake. A mistake? Cal's voice cut like steel. She spent months watching me grow sick, pretending to care while plotting my death. That's not a mistake, Mrs. Monroe. That's premeditated murder. The trial resumed with Rex's testimony. The former trainer's muscled frame seemed diminished in his prison jumpsuit as he tried to distance himself from the conspiracy. Lila said it would be easy, he testified. Cal was so focused on his work, he never noticed anything. She handled all the details. I just played along. Played along? The prosecutor's voice dripped skepticism. Mr. Hamilton, we have recordings of you discussing murder methods with Dr. Clayton. Was that just playing along too? Rex's facade cracked. You don't understand. She promised me everything. Money, status, a new life. Said once Cal was gone, we'd never have to worry about anything again. And that justified murder? Rex slumped in defeat. No, it didn't. Chapter 9. The Serpent's End. The jury took less than 6 hours to return their verdict. Judge Davies's courtroom fell silent as the foreman stood. On the charge of conspiracy to commit first-degree murder, how do you find the defendant, Delilah Hollis? Guilty. Rex Hamilton? Guilty. Dr. Bennett Clayton? Guilty. Additional verdicts followed. Guilty on all counts for all 3 defendants. Cal sat motionless as Judge Davies prepared to announce the sentences, his expression revealing nothing. Mrs. Hollis, Davies began, his voice heavy with authority. Your actions represent a profound betrayal of trust. You plotted the death of your husband with cold calculation, showing no remorse even now. 25 years. Lila's perfect composure finally shattered. She collapsed in tears as guards led her away. Mr. Hamilton, you claim to be a victim of manipulation, yet evidence shows you were an eager participant in attempted murder. 20 years. Rex stared blankly ahead, his dreams of wealth and status evaporating. Dr. Clayton, you violated your oath as a physician, using your position to facilitate murder. 15 years and permanent revocation of your medical license. After the sentencing, reporters swarmed the courthouse steps. Cal moved through them without comment, leaving his lawyer to handle official statements. He had no interest in public spectacle. The evidence had spoken for itself. Back in his office, he found Detective Jones waiting. Quite a result, she said. The DA's calling it a landmark case for premeditated murder conspiracy. Justice served. Cal turned to his latest architectural plans. You know, most people would show more emotion after something like this. Most people haven't spent months watching their spouse try to poison them. Cal's voice held no bitterness, only cold finality. They made their choices. Now they faced the consequences. Later that evening, Father Bellwether visited Cal's office. The elderly priest seemed burdened despite the verdict. I needed to know, he said. Was breaking the seal of confession worth the cost to my soul? Cal set aside his work. You prevented a murder, Father. Isn't that worth any spiritual price? Perhaps. The priest managed a small smile. You show remarkable strength, facing all this without hatred. Hatred requires emotional investment, Cal replied. I prefer clarity. They tried to kill me. I ensured they failed and faced justice. Nothing more. The media attention gradually faded. Cal focused on his work, expanding his architectural firm into new territories. He declined all interview requests, letting the court records tell the story. Izzy remained a constant presence, though she worried about his emotional state. You never talk about it, she said one evening over dinner. About how their betrayal made you feel. Feel? Cal considered the question. I feel satisfaction that justice was served. That's enough. Is it? You've become even more guarded since this happened. I've become more aware, he corrected, of the importance of control, of never letting emotion cloud judgment. He stood, moving to his office window. Below, the city stretched out, its lights marking points of civilization in the darkness. His latest project, a revolutionary sustainable housing complex, was taking shape on the horizon. Look at that skyline, Izzy. Each building represents countless calculations, precise measurements, careful planning. One mistake in the foundation can bring down the entire structure. And that's how you see life now? All calculations and planning? I see it clearly. Cal's reflection showed no weakness, no regret. They thought they could destroy me. Instead, they destroyed themselves. The media dubbed it the architect's revenge, a story of betrayal, poison, and ruthless justice. But Cal had moved beyond revenge. He had faced betrayal's abyss and emerged stronger, colder, more focused. His new projects garnered international attention. Clients sought him out not just for his architectural brilliance, but for his reputation for absolute control. The serpent was dead, its venom transformed into the foundation of his future. Cal Hollis had not just survived. He had rebuilt himself, stronger than before, leaving the ruins of betrayal behind. In his office, he opened a new set of blueprints. The past was settled, measured in years of prison sentences and shattered reputations. The future awaited his design, and this time, no one would dare to sabotage his plans. Epilogue. 10 years later, Cal Hollis stood atop the Hollis Tower, his latest architectural achievement dominating the city's skyline. At 48, his dark hair now carried streaks of silver at the temples, but his posture remained rigid, his gaze as sharp as ever. The past decade had transformed Hollis architecture into a global empire, with projects spanning 3 continents. Mr. Hollis? His assistant's voice came through the intercom. Detective Jones is here to see you. Send her up. Marissa Jones, now police captain, emerged from the elevator. Time had added authority to her bearing, though her analytical mind remained as keen as when she'd handled the infamous poisoning case. Quite a view, she said, joining him at the window. Your empire keeps growing. What brings you here, Captain? Lila's up for parole next month. Jones watched his reflection in the glass. Given your influence, the board wants your input. Cal turned from the window, moving to his desk. Has she shown remorse? She claims to be reformed. Started a prison ministry, counsels other inmates. Jones handed him a file. Still maintains you drove her to it, but she's gotten better at hiding her true nature. The same way she hid her plans to poison me? Cal's voice held no emotion as he reviewed the parole documents. Has she contacted Hammer? No. Rex Hamilton was denied parole last year. He's not handling prison well, got into 3 fights, tried to manipulate younger inmates. The board saw right through him. And Clayton? Dead. Heart attack in his cell 6 months ago. No one claimed the body. Cal nodded, unsurprised. The former doctor had been the weakest of the 3, the first to break under pressure. His death was an unremarkable end to an unremarkable life. I'll submit my statement to the parole board, Cal said, closing the file. They should understand that some serpents never lose their venom. After Jones left, Cal reviewed his calendar. His sister Izzy's bakery chain was opening its 20th location next week. She transformed her small business into a successful franchise, though she still insisted on baking special orders herself. The intercom buzzed again. Mr. Hollis? Father Martinez is here for your monthly meeting. Father Martinez had taken over St. Michael's after Father Bellwether's passing 5 years ago. The elderly priest had died peacefully, finally at peace with his decision to break the seal of confession. Cal had ensured the church received an anonymous donation large enough to renovate its aging structure and establish a youth education program. "Send him in." The young priest entered, carrying a familiar envelope. "The latest reports from the prison ministry." "You were right. She's been writing letters." Cal examined the intercepted correspondence. After her conviction, Lila had attempted to maintain connections with wealthy society figures, trying to secure support for appeals and early release. Most had abandoned her, unwilling to associate with a convicted would-be murderer. "She's persistent," Martinez noted, "still trying to spin the story her way." "Some people never change, Father. They just adapt their performance for a new audience." Later that afternoon, Cal visited Izzy's flagship bakery. His sister's success hadn't changed her direct nature or fierce loyalty. She still worked in the kitchen, experimenting with new recipes while managing her growing business empire. "You look tired, Hermano," she said, setting a coffee in front of him. "When's the last time you took a break?" "The Dubai project launches next month. After that, maybe." Izzy wiped flour from her hands. "I saw the news about Lila's parole hearing. You okay?" "Why wouldn't I be? Because the woman who tried to murder you might get released?" Izzy's voice carried a decade of protective anger. "The press will start circling again. They love dragging up the past. Let them." Cal sipped his coffee, a gesture that had taken years to reclaim after the poisoning. "The truth is already written in court records and prison sentences." Their conversation was interrupted by the arrival of Detective Sarah Chun, Jones's protege who joined the force after the trial. She'd helped track down several of Lila's hidden assets, funds that had been intended to finance her post-murder life with Rex. "Captain Jones asked me to deliver these," Chun said, placing a folder on the table. "Transcripts from Lila's recent therapy sessions. She's gotten better at presenting herself as reformed, but there are inconsistencies." Cal reviewed the documents. A decade of incarceration had taught Lila to refine her manipulation techniques. She'd earned privileges through good behavior, gained influence among fellow inmates, and carefully constructed an image of redemption. "She's still performing," he observed, "just for a different audience." The prison psychologist noted similar concerns. Chun pointed to specific passages. "She shows textbook signs of superficial remorse. When pressed about your near death, she redirects blame or changes the subject." That evening, Cal attended a charity gala at the City Museum. His firm's success and the sensational trial had made him a figure of intense public interest, though he rarely engaged with the spotlight. He moved through the crowd with practiced detachment, accepting accolades for his latest architectural innovations while deflecting personal questions. Patricia Monroe, Lila's mother, appeared at his elbow. Age had not softened her resentment. "Still playing the victim after all these years?" "Mrs. Monroe." Cal's tone could have frozen flame. "Still defending attempted murder?" "She's served 10 years of her life. For trying to take all of mine." Cal turned to face her fully. "Your daughter watched me suffer, pretended to care while poisoning me daily. Prison hasn't changed that reality." Across the room, he spotted Leo, the former investigator who'd helped expose the murder plot. Now running his own security firm, Leo had parlayed his role in the case into a successful business protecting high-profile clients from similar betrayals. "Monroe's getting desperate," Leo reported, joining Cal at the bar. "She's hired 3 different PR firms trying to reshape public opinion before the parole hearing. Waste of money." Cal checked his phone, noting a message from his lawyer. "The evidence speaks for itself." The following morning, Cal reviewed his statement for the parole board. The years had confirmed his instinct. He detailed Lila's actions with the same attention to detail he applied to architectural plans, letting facts rather than emotion make his case. His phone lit up with a text from Jones. Hamilton attempted suicide. Failed. Left a note blaming Lila for ruining his life. "Predictable," Cal replied. He never could accept responsibility. He turned his attention to the Jakarta proposal, a revolutionary design that would redefine sustainable urban living. Work had been his sanctuary after the trial, each successful project adding to the fortress he'd built around himself. The intercom buzzed. "Mr. Hollis? Judge Davies is on line 1. Howard Davies, though retired, had maintained contact over the years. His handling of the trial had set legal precedents for cases involving medical professionals in murder conspiracies. Hollis, Cal. Davies's voice carried the weight of his experience. I've reviewed the parole documentation. They're positioning it as a rehabilitation success story. In your opinion? Some crimes leave permanent stains. Your wife didn't just try to murder you. She corrupted the sacred trust between doctor and patient, between husband and wife. Actions that calculated don't deserve a second chance to succeed. Cal agreed. He'd spent a decade watching his back, testing all food and drink, maintaining tight security around his expanding business empire. Not from paranoia, but from the hard-earned knowledge that trust, once broken, could never be fully restored. His tablet chimed with an alert from his media team. A true crime podcast had released a new episode about the case, featuring interviews with former gym members who'd witnessed Lila and Rex's affair. The story still fascinated the public. The successful architect, the scheming wife, the brutal exposure of their murder plot. Cal ignored the notification. Let them speculate and sensationalize. He'd survived by focusing on facts, on evidence, on the cold reality of betrayal and justice. That afternoon, he met with his legal team to review the final draft of his parole board statement. The younger lawyers, fresh faces who knew the case only from court records, seemed surprised by his clinical approach. Mr. Hollis, one ventured, wouldn't it be more impactful to describe the emotional trauma? The psychological effects of such an intimate betrayal? Facts convince. Emotions distract. Cal's response ended further discussion. His phone buzzed with another message from Jones. Monroe family hired new lawyer. Trying to paint Lila's actions as temporary insanity driven by emotional neglect. Same strategy, different decade, Cal replied. The evidence hasn't changed. In his private office, he opened his safe and removed a familiar envelope. Father Bellwether's original warning, preserved as a reminder that even the most carefully constructed facades could hide deadly intent. The intercom interrupted his reflection. Mr. Hollis? Your sister's here with Lieutenant Chun. Izzy burst in, Chun following with a tablet. They found more letters, Izzy announced. Show him. Chin displayed emails recovered from a secret prison account. Lila had been corresponding with other inmates convicted of similar crimes, sharing strategies for manipulating parole boards and rebuilding public images. Still playing chess, Cal observed. Still viewing people as pieces to be moved. The parole board needs to see these, Chun insisted. They will. Cal's voice held the same quiet authority that had characterized his revenge. Along with everything else she's tried to hide these past 10 years. That evening, as sunset painted his office in amber hues, Cal reviewed architectural plans for his next project. A secure residential complex designed for people who'd survived domestic betrayals. The irony didn't escape him that his own experience had shaped this innovation. His phone lit up with a final message from Jones. Board received your statement. Preliminary response suggests parole unlikely. Some things can't be forgiven. Cal set down his phone, turning to the city view. A decade had passed since he'd transformed from victim to victor, since he'd turned a murder plot into an architect's revenge. He'd built an empire on the foundations of that victory, each success another brick in the walls protecting him from future betrayals. The serpent was long dead, but its lessons lived on in steel and glass, in careful plans and calculated distances. Cal Hollis had not just survived. He had thrived, turning trauma into triumph, betrayal into empire. His intercom buzzed one last time. Mr. Hollis? The board for the Jakarta project is ready for your presentation. On my way. Cal gathered his designs, ready to shape another piece of the future he'd fought to keep. The past might echo in true crime podcasts and parole hearings, but his focus remained forward, building monuments to survival that would outlast all attempts at destruction. The sun set on another day in his reconstructed life, the city lights below twinkling like stars. Somewhere in a prison cell, Lila plotted and planned, but her venom had long since lost its power. Cal Hollis had transformed it into foundation stone, building a legacy that no betrayal could topple. The architect's revenge had become the architect's victory, and that victory would stand as long as his towers reached toward the sky. This is where our story comes to an end. Share your thoughts in the comments section. Thanks for your time. If you enjoy this story, please subscribe to this channel. Click on the video you see on the screen, and I will see you there.